Welcome to the James Rowe Show on the Barroom Sports Talk Network. I'm James Rowe, and this is the first White Sox episode that I'm doing for my website. So I, of course, bring on some White Sox fans and some people who are, I would call as experts or pundits. I don't know what you guys want to call yourselves. But I'm joined by Jasper Roos from Future Sox and then Ian Eskridge from the Dugout, Southside. Welcome, guys.
How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys on. So the first talking point we're going to have, well, before we do that, we got to talk about what we're drinking, too. And since I'm sporting my White Sox cup from the 05 years with Rooney and Ed Farmer.
Oh, Rooney.
I know, poor.
Oh, Farmio.
What big losses. But I'm drinking a Modelo. So I'm going corporate today.
Going White Sox corporate.
Very fitting, yeah.
What about you guys? What are you guys drinking?
I have a nice little two-finger here of Tyrconnell. It's Irish whiskey, single malt.
Yes,
fantastic.
Sir. It's my favorite Irish whiskey. I'm really surprised you know it.
I can't get it here. I have
a friend who lives in Ireland. Yeah, she always brings it for me. Whenever she goes back to her parents, she brings me one or two bottles from the airport. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, there's like one place in like California that carries it, but they don't ship. And I can't. Well, how about this? They don't ship to Illinois for whatever reason. Illinois, like they have still have prohibition laws on on shipping liquor, so I can't get it here, without massive costs. So I had a friend who actually I was his best man in his wedding, and he found a bottle of it at like some hole in the wall convenience store and got it for me. So I'll take it. I still have like a little bit left, and I only have it on special occasions.
Well, I guess this is a special occasion.
Yeah, I'm going with the Sox tumbler here, right here, obviously. And this is not a Tyrconnell. This is a Ardmore, a single malt Scotch. But I'd much rather be having a Tyrconnell right now. I can tell you that.
Well, and also before we started, I want to talk about Jasper's thing in the back because he's got a whole bunch of White Sox stuff up there, and I have one big gripe with you. Since you know that I'm a massive Notre Dame fan, you just had to put Michigan there, didn't you?
I had to. Yeah, I thought to myself, I can either complete the set of 5 and add a 5th White Sox hat in the background, or I can mess with James a little bit and I can pop a Michigan hat in there. So go blue.
This is also the same guy who has gourmet football time instead of down like wings and the most unhealthy stuff that you can possibly find. But anyway, so let's go into our first segment, and Ian, let's talk about Lance Lynn. So some of the stuff I have here is that he's 33 years old. He went 6-3 with a 3.39 ERA in 13 starts. 84 innings pitched. He struck out 89 and walked 25 in 2020. The one concern was that he gave up 13 homers. But then in 2019, he was 16-11. It was a 3.67 ERA, 33 starts, 208.1 innings, striking out 246 while walking only 59, which I think is pretty remarkable. He finished in the top 10 in the AL Cy Young in 2019 and 2020, 5th in 2019 and 6th in 2020. And he only cost $8 million from the trade for Dane Dunning and Avery Williams. And Ian, let's start with you. What's your feelings about this?
I'm obviously I'm happy about it. The only thing that gave me pause about the deal in general is I'm a huge Dane Dunning guy. Just the fact that the kid can throw strikes with every single pitch that he has. And I've been watching him basically since he's been drafted. We couldn't watch him in Kannapolis because there's, they were in the Stone Ages when they were in the Intimidators and still didn't have a working camera. But I've been watching the kid pitch since we got him, and just really enjoy watching him work. He's, super calm on the mound, doesn't nothing really seems to rattle him, and great pitcher. And was not thrilled about losing him, Mm-hmm. And Avery Williams had just moved up in our prospect rankings, and he disappears without us even really, unless you were watching the Voyagers, what are you really going to see, and even then, they don't have a camera either at their stadium. So, yeah, I mean, it was I thought the only thing that I was really worried about is losing out on Dane Dunning, and we'll see what he does when he goes down to Texas. As far as Lance Lynn goes, I mean, you can't complain about the production for the last 2 years. He's been really solid. You know, like you said, the only thing that you really have to watch out for is his the home runs he allows. And the weird thing about it is if you look at his stats from like 2017 when he came back from TJ, you know, his ground ball rate has been going down. His fly ball rate has been going up. His home run rate has gone up, but yet his whip is going down. So it's kind of, you know, obviously he's pitching higher in the strike zone, and he's really been working with that fastball up high. So the contact is not as good usually, but you know, when he moves to guaranteed rate, my worry with that is, you know, with the amount of fly balls he allows to ground balls, is it going to be a detriment to his production here? So that's my only worry about the Lance Lynn. Otherwise, I mean, you look at his whip from last year, and it was just over 1. So I you know, what's there to complain about? We gained 2 pitchers this year, and both of them have, you know, 1 or sub 1 whip for the last, you know, year and a half. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, to be honest. Like I may not be the biggest Dane Dunn fan that you are. Like I'm not as big a Dane Dunn fan as you are, but I still really like Dane Dunning. Like it's like nothing against him. Avery Weems popped off in Instructs in October. There were a couple of players that performed really well, not just for the White Sox, but the guy that San Diego shipped to Tampa Bay for Blake Snell, Blake Hunt, the catcher, one of the lesser known prospects in that Blake Snell deal, also completely popped off in Instructs, and that raised them a ton on the prospect list. I believe it was Baseball Prospectus that was about to put Avery Weems in either, was it the top 10 or the top 30? I think the top 30 for the White Sox.
I think it was top 30, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. It's Avery Weems is a good pitcher, but that's just nuts. But that's all based on just one short stint in October during Instructs where he looked really good. I think the Rangers may have gotten a really good left-handed reliever out of that. But you cannot pass up an opportunity to get a guy like Lance Lynn, who is a workhorse, who will give you 200 innings in a regular season, who strikes out everyone and their mother. Like it's truly like a great addition to a team that desperately needed a strong third starter in the rotation. So, I mean, I love Dane Dunning. I can totally understand why people are frustrated that he's the one that had to go. But to be honest, it's Lance Lynn, bro. Like, let's roll.
Yeah. Well, Dane Dunning's also older, you know, so I mean that part of it makes sense to me, is that they, you know, like they have to get rid of some of this logjam that they're going to have with their pitching rotation. I mean, you can't have, you know, 6 guys who are, you know, right at that precipice of getting to the major leagues and then keep all of them. There's just no way that you can keep all of them. No. It's just unfortunate that, you know, for my personal feelings, just because of his, you know, his makeup and his control is the main part of him that I really enjoyed.
Well, we're also, like, as fans, we're emotionally attached to especially guys like Dane Dunning, because he was a part of the package that brought Giolito and Lopez to Chicago, which is also like right around the time that the actual rebuild was put into play. Like you got the sale deal to Boston, and then you had the Eden deal to Washington that brought us Dane Dunning. And then obviously he's one of those guys, one of those names you hear about for years and years and years. He's part of that great feeling that we all have had for, like, all right, this rebuild is finally starting. He went through Tommy John, so we're all like emotionally going with him in that. Is he ever going to be the same? Will we be able to see Dane Dunning shine in the way we're all expecting him? He will shine. And then he shows up to the big leagues. He pitches I mean, I couldn't complain about his outings over the last season. Obviously, the Oakland game was not his fault. Yeah, I mean, so it's all about being emotionally invested in people too. Like we were attached to Dane Dunning, but after 2 days of feeling shitty that Dane Dunning had to go to Texas, I felt great about getting Lance Lynn. So.
Yeah. And, you know, like as far as like the Avery Weems things goes, you know, like he was a starter at Arizona and he was bad. The White Sox bring him in, turn him into a reliever, fix one of his mechanical hangups, and all of a sudden, he rockets up the prospect rankings. And now from what I understand, from what I'm hearing from the Rangers side of things, is that they're planning on turning him back into a starter. So I'm kind of interested to see where that whole thing goes. I mean, we know that for the most part, the Rangers are, at least the last, 10 or so years, is where pitching prospects go to die.
Prospects in general.
Yeah. I mean, no comment on that. But I mean, it's just, we'll see what happens. They put him in that starter role. I'm kind of interested to see how that whole thing turns out. So,
yeah, 100%.
I think
I fully agree with that.
The only concern I had, and it's something that we all discussed in our group chat, was the long term of this trade. Because in short terms, clearly they're going for a World Series. This is a great pickup in that regards. But he is 33 years old. Can he keep up with that? And also, can he sign long term? I mean, that's the only concern I really have out of this, because Dane Dunning was on a cost control, and years were fine with what was going to happen for long-term success. That's literally the only thing I'm concerned about.
Well, the White Sox are supposedly in contact with Camp Lynn to re-sign him to a multi-year deal. I'd be fine with that.
Right.
But he's been around for a long time. Like, he's been around since 2011. But he's only got like 1,400 innings on his arm. So it's not like that's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because it means he hasn't been very durable in the past, but it's a good thing that now that he's figured it out at like age, 31, 32, he kind of sort of figured something out. And now he's suddenly this workhorse 200 inning guy. Like, I mean, in the end, he's been around for almost a decade, and it's only 1,400 innings. So.
Yeah, a couple of years as a reliever, and then when he signed with Minnesota, they traded him to the Yankees, and then they put him in a long relief for a while as well. So, I mean, that limited a little bit of his innings. So, yeah. Yeah,
I don't disagree. Well, then going into our next talking point, where this one I was scratching my head. I know you guys were scratching your heads when this decision was made, and it was signing Adam Eaton. So he signed for 1 year worth $8.5 million. He has an option for 2022. He will most likely platoon with Adam Engel in right field. But in 2020, his numbers were not that very good. He was injured, but he hit only 226 for 4 home runs and 17 RBIs, where the previous season, I think he had 117 weighted run created numbers. So either that was just because of his injuries, I don't know, or whether or not it's just showing decline. But this was definitely a move that scratched all our heads. And Ian, obviously, we're going to start with you on this one.
Thanks. Yeah, so obviously the 2020 Adam Eaton numbers and the 2018 Adam Eaton numbers are not going to offer anything of real value to the White Sox. If we get 2019 or 2016 or 2015 Adam Eaton, then I think it's worth it and could be okay. I mean, and that's also, if we get the Adam Eaton who's not a complete ass bag, if he shows up and starts pulling all that stuff that he did with the last time, like the last time he was here, it's just going to be problems again. And I mean, he always says the right things. If you listen to his interviews now, all of his interviews sound like he's saying the right thing. Like, I'm going to defer to the leaders of the team. They've got their own culture. But at the end of the day, in the heat of the moment, is that going to be what we get out of him? Or are we going to get, the guy that had bad reviews from teammates coming out of Arizona? Is he going to be the one who was shipped out of here that kind of left a bad taste in everybody's mouth? I mean, I don't know about you, but at the time when we sent him to Washington, not only was I obviously happy with the return, because the return was ridiculous.
Yes.
But I was happy for him to be gone at that point, just because it seemed like everybody accuses him of having a loud mouth. Obviously, Todd Frazier's not a fan. Regardless of what you think of Todd Frazier, but everybody says he's fake. and that he's got a how would you say, a disingenuous hustle type thing, where he's trying to show people up with this hustle rather than just doing it when it needs to be done. He does it when, all the time, and that includes running into walls and doing other silly things that are just not necessary. So, I wasn't thrilled with the signing. But I'm willing to, obviously at this point, I am just a fan. So what am I going to do about it at this point? It's kind of one of those things where we're going to let it ride and we'll see where it goes.
To be honest, I kind of agree with you. I really liked Adam Eaton when the Sox first traded for him. I mean, stories about his time in Arizona be damned. This is a guy that I felt at that point we could build a team around, and maybe he felt that pressure too. Because exactly what you just said, Ian, is he's been very vocal now about saying I will defer to the team leaders. And I feel that the last time he was with the Sox, he felt that he was a team leader because he was, received as this major component for the next few years. We're going to make a run with this guy. He did really well. Let's be honest. He was a good player for the White Sox in his first time around. And I feel that maybe that got a little bit to his head. And then you had the whole affair La Roche, which is obviously a disaster. And I mean, we don't ever want to think about that, but Chris Sale screwed that up too. He was on the wrong side of things too. Let's be honest. We all love Chris Sale, fantastic pitcher. That wasn't great. No. And Eaton picked the same side. And because of that, we're in this scenario that we are now. The thing is, I don't mind the Adam Eaton signing now too badly if it's the last thing they do. But I hated the timing of it. There was absolutely no reason for the White Sox to sign him when they did. He was the first outfielder, the first free agent outfielder off the market. There is literally no reason to do that. You had your choice of your Jock Petersons, your George Springers, your Jackie Bradley Juniors, the list goes on about there's a ton of outfielders available. Kyle Schwarber, for crying out loud. I mean, I'm not a huge Schwarber fan, but at this point, Schwarber for $10 million or Eaton for $8 million. I don't know, man. I guess that's close. That's close.
Well, as far as the bats go, anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. For real. Yeah. I mean, we still need a DH. I mean, yeah. Let's be honest. Would you rather see Schwarber at DH and Engel in right field, or no DH and Eaton in right field?
Ooh.
I'd much rather have Schwarber at DH and Engel in right field. I think that's a better team than a black hole at DH.
Yeah, it's a left-handed power bat, so
which we don't really have a lot of. Let's be honest. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole Tommy era was fantastic, but after they let Tommy go, it's been a black hole. So I mean, I don't love the signing, but most of all, I hate the timing of it. And it makes more sense if you take into account that they ended up signing Yoelqui Cespedes a couple of weeks later. So, I mean, you can say that Eaton is the bridge to Cespedes.
Right.
But, I mean, then you're taking a huge gamble on Cespedes being good. So
yeah, that's really projecting. That's I've been seeing that all over the place on Twitter, Facebook, any bit of social media. Oh, well, okay, well, we signed Cespedes, so that Eaton thing must just be a 1-year bridge deal until we get, until Cespedes comes up next year, because he's coming up next year. And it's you don't have any idea what you're talking about.
No. Especially with the potential lack of minor league season again this year. It's really tough to project. But the Sox have been known to do this. They are very, Han is always talking about, this is a move that sets us up for the future. And we were all hoping that this would be the season, the off season, that they would finally say, all right, this is not a move that's setting us up for the future. It's a move that sets us up for this year, because this is our window. The Tigers suck. The Royals suck. The Indians are, especially with Lindor gone, not as good as they used to be. The Twins are not doing anything to improve. If anything, they're making our lives easier because they're signing guys like J.A. Happ, who are going to get lit up by this lineup, this White Sox lineup. I mean, this is the window. If you don't win the Central this year, something went horribly wrong.
Yeah, I agree. The only couple things I have really honestly about Eaton was having grown up in the DC area. it seems like his reputation with the Nats was great. I mean, he was a great teammate. He obviously led them to a World Series, but obviously he still left a bad taste here. So, and the other thing is the Cespedes thing. And I mean, I'm happy in the sense that it might be the British Cespedes, but it really is risky. It's a really risky move. There was something else I was going to say, and I just forgot it. But
there's always a buyout. Like, I mean, there's always a buyout.
Right, yeah.
If he's terrible this year, they buy him out and they cut ties and they try again next year. But I was hoping that this year would not be the year that we're going to do that. The whole 1 year with an option situation that they've been doing for the last couple.
The only thing I could think of when they made this move was that it was a cheap cost for like a bigger name, which obviously will be the next person we're going to be talking about, to save money for those premium talents that we want to win with. And that premium talent, and of course I'm going to start with you, Jasper, since you are wearing the Team Australia hat, is Liam Hendriks. So that was a 3-year deal worth $54 million with an option for a 4th year. He had 14 saves with a 1.78 ERA, 1.14 FIP, and a 4.2 K rate. I mean, that was just incredible. Plus, he won the AL Reliever of the Year award in 2020. And in the last 2 years, he has a 1.66 ERA, saving 39 games out of 47, and a 33.1 K rate, even though it was much better this year. So that was that premium talent that we were talking about. I mean, that's a great signing.
It's literally probably the best signing they could have made at this point in time. Like, it's Liam Hendriks right now is by far the best reliever in baseball. This is a deal that costs you a ton of money. And especially with the whole way they constructed that deal with the $15 million buyout spread out over, like, was it 10 years if they decide to not take the option?
Like Bobby Bonilla all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole story about, like, Reinsdorf saying that's what NBA contracts used to be, and let's try it out in baseball. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe the White Sox are again, like, setting the trend for years to come. I mean, for all we know, this is something that all teams are going to do in the near future. But come on, Liam Hendriks, like, how could you not love that guy? Have you guys seen the press conference?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I went in really tired and I came out. I could run through a wall after that one. I was like, this signing has got me amped up. This is a guy who throws absolute heat, who can dominate on the mound, who is literally the best reliever in baseball. Like, what more can we ask for? This is the kind of move that shows the White Sox are serious. And then the fact that it dies down after that, and suddenly it's like, oh, we may be done, even though there's 3 or 4 more holes on the team. That is frustrating. But this is a move that shows we're serious. Mm-hmm. I love it. I have nothing against this move. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I love the move as well. I would personally, I looked through the numbers and I did some combing, and I'm a little bit more leery about the performance of Hendriks than a lot of people. But to be clear, I don't dislike the move. I like the move a lot. I'm curious to see how his numbers transfer from Oakland Coliseum to here. But if you look at his home and away splits, they were pretty even as well. And he actually did better on the road than he did at Oakland. So, I mean, who am I to say? Let's see what happens. And I'm very hopeful. So
he figured something out along the way. And when you hear him talk, it's clear this is a guy he's mentally just really strong. You cannot go through what he went through over the last couple of years, getting DFA'd, like, was it 4 times in one offseason?
Yeah.
And still be here. Like, it's this guy is just mentally tough, man. This is a guy who's willing to seize the opportunity. And, he said the same thing at the press conference, something along the lines of, I don't want to make this deal look good. I want this to look like a bargain.
A bargain.
And that's, a bargain. Yeah. With a slider.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I want to hear from, like, the big free agent signings. I want to make this deal look like a bargain. I'm hyped. Like, I'm really excited they got him because this bullpen is really good. Yeah, like, this is like legit the best bullpen I've seen in like a decade on the White Sox.
It's probably the best bullpen in the league right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're better than the Yankees, to be honest.
Oh, I don't understand why people think that the Yankees are still better. Don't get me wrong, they've got a great bullpen, but it's not better than the Sox.
Exactly. And are the A's going to be as good as they were last year without Hendricks?
No.
I don't think so. Like, they have a couple of really good arms in there, but is JB Wendelken the same as Liam Hendricks?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. But the only thing, like, a lot of people were complaining about how much they paid for Hendricks, but the thing is, to get the premium talent, you might have to overpay. So some people were saying he's worth 3 years, $39 million. But to be honest, I'm like, you know what? I'll take this deal.
Yeah. It's the same with the Grandal deal from last year. They gave Grandal more than he was probably worth.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a sign to the rest of the league where, we're serious. We want to participate. We want to be, a World Series contender. And because, they have to overpay. It's the White Sox. Let's be honest. Like, this is not a team that historically high-end free agents are lining up to sign for.
Right.
Like, if you want to sway them to sign for the team, you got to give them a little bit extra incentive. They did so for Grandal. They did the same thing for Hendricks. I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, we don't have the best location in the world.
No.
We're not San Diego. We're not LA. We're not Miami. You're going to have to overpay a little bit. And it's just, again, it all boils down to whose money is it? It's not my money.
Right. Not my money. No.
Yeah. As long as, I can keep on saying that as long as they make financially responsible moves. And to me, this seems like it's a financially responsible move. It's not a 10-year deal. It's not a 7-year deal for a pitcher. It's just a few years. It's 3 years with an option. And I think that's pretty responsible. So
yeah,
what's there to complain?
Well, and the option makes sense because it keeps you under the luxury tax if you, in fact, do not pick up the option. Because spreading out that $50 million over 10 years gives you financial flexibility to, in that particular period, keep spending because it keeps you under the luxury tax. It's really clever.
The Bobby Bonilla / Paul Konerko contract, at the end where it just kind of tails off for 10 years and then adios.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're at $120 million now, the White Sox, even with the Hendricks deal. Like, I mean,
they can still make.
I'm not like super. Yeah, I'm not like super confident they're going to be signing more, but they can.
Yeah.
All right, and so Zoom just told me that we're got only a few minutes left, but we'll quickly get through this in a second. But we'll start obviously with you, Jasper, for these ones since you were the future Sox guy. Cespedes,
a future Sox guy.
Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But anyway, so the deal that Cespedes signed is worth $2 million. He's only 5'9", but he has 5 tools. He's 23 years old. Is 205 pounds. So he's got a big frame for a small guy, and his arm is comparable to his brother. So the grades I have here is that his hit was 50, run was 60, fielding is 55, power is 55, and arm is 60. And before I ask you for your feelings about Cespedes, I have a question for you. Do you feel like that at the end of the day, or at the end of both their careers, that this kid is going to be better than his brother?
Is he wrestling wild boars?
Falling off of horses and all that stuff. Is he going to be better than his brother? I'm going to say no. Okay. I'm going to err on the side of caution here. And I think he's really good. Let's be totally clear about that. I've been following this kid for a couple of years. I follow the Cuban League quite a bit because of the international circuit. I've seen all the Cuban players that are now in the big leagues. I saw them years before they actually made it to the big leagues in the international circuit in tournaments. He is as good as some of them. I do not know if he's as good as his brother, to be honest. I think Yoenis Cespedes, when he was in the international circuit, was like must see. Like you have to see it to believe it. Same with Abreu. When I saw Jose Abreu in was it 2012? I'm gonna say, like that dude was hitting the cover of the ball for like weeks on end in the international circuit. There are very few players like that. Yoelki is really, 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 really good. I don't think he's as good as Yoenis, but I mean.
We'll see. Yeah.
What do I know? He bulked up quite a bit over the last year. He's been working out on Yoenis' ranch in Florida. He's a lot stronger than he was last time I saw him actively play in a game. That's the biggest problem with Yoelki. We haven't seen him play in a while, in a very long
It's been
while.
like a year and a half or something, hasn't it?
A year and a half, yeah. And for a 23-year-old kid, that's a long time. So, I mean, he's gotten a lot stronger. That may have been to the detriment of his speed. I don't think he's as fast as he was a year and a half, 2 years ago, because he's got so much more body mass. But I mean, if you see the videos on Instagram or on Twitter, he's hitting the ball hard. And I mean, that's like really impressive. That sound, that the ball coming off of his bat is really impressive. So I think he's really good. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Johannes. That's literally all I can say. That's not a really like groundbreaking statement to make. I think he's really good. Obviously, the White Sox wouldn't have signed him if they didn't think he was going to be really good. But I mean, you got to compare him. Like if you compare him to Luis Robert, who's better? Yeah, Luis Robert. Like there's no contest. So
Fair enough.
I think it can be a really useful piece. I think it's a great signing. He was the number one prospect by Baseball America, number one international prospect. Like you can't do much better. This is not a signing that we can be mad about.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other one was Norris Vera, which he signed for $1.5 million. He's 6'4", has a fastball that hits at 96. He's a future bullpen arm, and he's only 20 years old. And so he's not a future bullpen arm. That's what I was reading, but let's see.
No, I know. But this is a newish development.
Oh,
and I see Ian nodding his head, so he saw the same report that I saw. He is lighting it up, and I'm talking like he's hitting 100 right now off the mound.
Good.
With like insane break on his breaking stuff. So he's a starter. I think the White Sox see him as a front of the line starter now.
Excellent. That's great.
He's gotten better since they signed him. Because they signed him, don't forget, like they signed Cespedes. I mean, officially they signed them both like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But the North Vera deal already leaked like over the summer. We already knew that he signed with the White Sox, even though he hadn't
Vera
officially
is signed. They actually did
I believe
sign him?
so.
Okay, I heard that the deal hadn't gone through yet, and that was what was worrying me. Is that now that his velocity has been climbing, I was wondering if he was second guessing what he got. I was hoping not.
No.
I just kind of.
That's actually a good question. So as far as I know, Ben Badler of Baseball America said that there was an agreement dating back to July last year.
Yeah,
and I don't know 100% sure if he is signed. I said yeah, but to be honest.
Yeah,
I have this in my head that he's signed.
He had been working out in the Dominican at the Sox.
Yeah, he signed. He signed on the 12th.
All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Jesse Sanchez of Baseball America has it official that Norris Carlos Vera at 19 years old signed for $1.5 million. Yeah. So he's in the system. I was going to say you confused me there. I was like, well, yeah, he signed, right?
Yeah, I had heard that he hadn't signed yet. It might have been old information at the time. I don't remember. Yeah,
but the new information is like exactly what you say. He's looking incredible. Like he's looking ace material right now.
That's great. That's fantastic. That'd be awesome for me. Another Cuban guy. That's just awesome. And I think it's incredible. His grades, his fastball's is 60, though it might be better at this point. And his slider changeup is 55, which is fantastic as well.
His sliders.
Oh, I love my sliders.
Slider. South slider.
We got lots of sliders now between Lynn, Hendricks, and
absolutely.
Vera as well.
It's going to be tough for almost any opposing offense. Yeah.
Cease's slider looks really good now.
Especially with the cats there now. That's fantastic. And then quickly, our last segment is the future moves that you want to do. And my personal feeling is if they don't make any moves, which I don't think they're going to do that, but is that they're going to win this division and hopefully make a deep run in the playoffs. But I don't see them winning the World Series. But one of my feelings is they need to get another DH. So hopefully Brantley may be possibly there.
He's gone already. Is
it official now?
Yeah, he re-signed with the Astros.
Yeah. With Astros. Yeah.
Okay. And then
weird deal, by the way. Like they could have just kept him for 1 year at $18 million and get a draft pick for him if he refuses it, and then they sign him for 2 years at $16 million a year. I don't know about that, but let's keep that for the Houston Astros podcast.
Yeah, from my understanding is that he just absolutely loves Houston. Like actually living there, he loves the city. So more power to him. Can't beat geography. Same thing with the Zach Wheeler signing from last year, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think this has been a great podcast. Hopefully, we'll have you guys on for the future one, and there might be a special guest. Oh, it's going to be a really spicy one. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and thank you for listening to this podcast. We'll see you later.